Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Feeders have picked up finally, haven't they? Yeah, but this cold weather has really added the stress and the birds are coming in. Today's video, I entitled it Mark's Favorite Peanut Feeder, but really it's about the topic of feeding peanuts, how to feed peanuts, and kind of when to feed peanuts, when it's the most effective. Several years ago I was in a discussion with a friend of mine, and he said, I don't find that peanut feeders get busy until about January. And he's right, because feeding peanuts, the birds who really like peanuts are the oak-dependent species. That's many of the woodpeckers, the chickadees, the titmice, the white-breasted nuthatches. Especially things like red-headed woodpeckers, which are very oak-dependent. Those are the birds that really favor peanuts. So in the fall, when acorns are fresh and acorns have just dropped, and especially in a year like this year, in which we had a huge acorn drop this year, the little red oak acorns were everywhere. In those years, the oak-dependent species are doing quite well. They're storing their peanuts, their acorns, into their cavities and places for the winter. And peanut feeders tend to be quite slow in a fall, early winter season like the year we've just been having. Now that stress is higher, those food stores are being consumed, and the birds start coming into your peanut feeders more frequently from now, really midwinter through summer. And so your peanut feeders tend to be a real big star in your yard. Well, why do people like peanut feeders so much? They're my wife's favorite bird feeder. She loves the peanut feeder. And she likes it because she actually gets to watch the birds when they land on the peanut feeder and have to break the peanuts up. They stay a while. They don't grab a seed and fly away, grab a seed and fly away. So she likes the entertainment value that peanut feeders provide. But these aren't the only ways to feed peanuts. Peanuts are very high in oil, very high in fat. So those peanuts are great for birds, especially in winter. They convert energy very quickly, and that's important. So how do you feed peanuts? How can you feed peanuts? Well, the limiting factor for peanuts tends to be cost. Peanuts are a major component of any quality bird seed mix. Boardwalk blend, nut and berry, those guys have lots of peanuts. The woodpecker chickadee nuthatch blend has lots of peanuts in it. They're very high value, and they're more expensive. So some people want to feed them, but they don't know, how to do it efficiently, and they don't want to spend a ton of money, which is, if you're a Santa Claus bird feeder and you just want to put tons of peanuts out in the open, on the open tray. Some people spread them along their deck railings and open trays and things like that, and they just let anything and everything eat on them. Well, that's a high budget endeavor, because a lot of things are going to eat it. The squirrels are going to eat them. The blue jays are going to eat them. They're going to have a lot of volume. You're going to go through a lot of peanuts. Now, some people want to feed peanuts, but they want to do it more economically. And that's why when doing the video about my favorite feeder, how to do that. You can use a regular multi-seed feeder. Peanuts will fit through these bigger holes, and you can fill that with peanuts if you want to. But again, if you've ever watched a titmouse in a situation like this, man, they fly back and do 100 trips in a day, and they're just flying away with those peanuts left and right, and they're storing them somewhere. And again, you can do that. But most people want to do it a little more economically, and that is where the peanut feeders come in. Now, I've done whole videos, and I'll put a link, about the different kind of peanuts and what peanuts you should feed. Never feed salted, never feed seasoned peanuts. We want raw peanuts and Spanish peanuts, and we sell them in two different grades. These are called peanut pickouts. I'll turn them around. So these are more broken, and they're easy to come out and can be fed on faster. And then we also sell what are called runners, which are more whole pieces of peanuts. Now keep these two things in mind when I'm talking about these feeders behind me. So a traditional peanut feeder is a mesh feeder. Now the mesh is big enough and small enough that when you pour the peanuts into the feeder, they don't come pouring out. They get caught up in the mesh and they stay inside of there. but they're large enough that with the woodpeckers and the chickadees and titmice, those birds that are used to feeding on it, can land right on the wire, and they can peck and break those peanuts into smaller pieces and pull them out. You'll notice that none of my peanut feeders that I sell have perches on them. That is very much by design on my part. I do not like peanut feeders with perches on it because perches tend to attract and accommodate the less desirable birds. Things like house finches and things that otherwise are not that great at clinging, and they don't want to. You don't want to feed them, eat them eating you out of house and home. Excuse me. House sparrows are another bird that I like to dissuade because with the perches without perches. So the clingers are who I'm shooting for. Like you think about it, the woodpeckers and the chickadees, the titmice, the nuthatches, they like to cling right to the wire, peck on those pieces and pull them out of there. Now, the two different grades of peanuts that I was talking about. Now, a lot of people, when they first get started, they really like to start with the peanut pickouts, the smaller pieces, because those are much easier for the birds to get out of the wire. And it gets them feeding and get them used to the feeders long. Well, some people are like, well, let's slow them down a little bit. They're eating a lot, you know, and peanuts go as a whole go slower than seed does, but some people want to slow them down, and that's when they switch to the bigger pieces, because the bigger pieces are harder for them to get out and take a little more effort. Now, squirrels. We know squirrels love peanuts, so they're going to smell the peanuts in the feeder. If you're not in a situation where you can baffle your peanut feeder, like I like to hang them from under the eave of my house, but I also have poles that have raccoon baffles on it to keep squirrels and raccoons out. But if it's hanging somewhere that the squirrels can get to it, remember this: a squirrel can't do this. He can't grab with his fingers and pull a peanut out. He has to get his face down on the feeder and chew. So the peanut pickouts, the more broken pieces, they'll stick out of the wire a little bit more, and it's easier for them to get their teeth on it, whereas the bigger runners are so big that they don't poke through the wire, and it's much more frustrating and hard for the squirrels to get into it. Now, my favorite peanut feeder is this one. This is the one I've been using for many years. It's from Aspect, kind of traditional wire. They also added these easy clean bases, which is great for cleaning them, and I really like that feature. But we have some other great ones too. This one is one of the toughest little feeders I've ever seen. You can see that this is a much stouter metal, and I have people who have really bad squirrel problems that say this one holds up very, very well for them, whereas they can actually break the wire on these, and they have lifetime warranties, and we'll fix them. But also things like this, a caged peanut feeder, the woodpecker can still get his beak in there, and the little birds can get their beak in there and still get to them, but the squirrels can't get their face onto it. So there are ways around squirrels that they can help you out, but the mesh is what's important. The mesh will slow down birds and definitely slow down squirrels as far as you going through peanuts. And so those are great peanut feeders. Now, the one that we're not talking about here, of course, are the in-shell peanuts. The in-shell peanuts, which are a favorite of blue jays and some of the woodpeckers, they need obviously a bigger mesh, and these peanut rings are quite popular for that. With my in-shell peanuts, I just lay them in my open tray as a treat. So at the end, when I'm filling my bird feeders, I take a handful of peanuts and lay them down in that tray and let the blue jays have those as a treat in the morning. The reason I don't put an endless supply of in-shell peanuts is because blue jays are famous for burying and storing all the peanuts. So if you put a bunch of peanuts out, they'll take them and empty your feeder and just bury most of them. And a lot of those we know go to waste. And some of them they'll relocate, but I like to limit my output, if you will, of the in-shell peanuts. So in a peanut feeder like this, I probably would only fill the bottom quarter of it most of the time. That way, and I love blue jays. I know there are a lot of people who don't like blue jays, but blue jays are my burglar alarms. When my Cooper's hawk's in the yard or it comes flying into the yard, those blue jays tend to gang up on him and run them off. So in-shell peanuts, great for the blue jays. The shelled peanuts, great for a whole bunch of birds. Some of your favorite birds, like I said, red-headed woodpeckers this year have been really good on them. And your peanuts are going to get busier here, and there's no mess, there's no waste, there's no germination. They're a great source, and that's why a lot of people love feed them in the summer, because they don't have to worry about anything growing up under their feeders because the peanuts are not going to germinate. So peanuts are a great topic. Peanut feeders. There you have Mark's favorite, the Aspect, and many other ones that work as well for your individual situation. So Great idea for a program. Thanks for tuning in. Give us a like, give us a share. Or if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come on, let's talk birds.